Hi everyone, welcome to another video of Sunday Morning Drives. Today I'm very excited because I'm able to drive my dream car, what used to be my dream car. This is the Ferrari 458 Italia. It's got a 4.5 liter V8 that revs up to 9,000 RPM, and it's got around 560 horsepower and 540 Newton meters of torque. This is a Spider version. So today I'll be doing a full review of this car, going through the outside, the inside, some of the details of the car, and most importantly, I'll be able to drive it and see how it feels. I will also try to compare a little bit to my 992 GT3 because this is a very high revving engine as well, similar to the GT3, and the power that produces per liter of the engine capacity is very similar. And the 0 to 100 km/h time, the claim time for this car and the 992 GT3 is almost identical. It's at 3.4 seconds, 0 to 100. So it's a very quick car. So it'll be interesting to see how it handles on the back roads and just generally how it drives. I'll quickly show you some details of the 458 Italia. So over the front, we have a couple of fins, almost like blades on either side. Apparently these diffusers actually give the car more downforce and they're flexible. So they actually flex through high speed. And these are vents over here on either side next to the headlights. These headlights looks pretty amazing. Has a lot of details in them. And also there's a vent over here. So quite a bit of details in the front. This car has the carbon ceramics with the 5-spoke, very iconic wheel rim. The wheel size is 235/35 R20 in the front. The rear tires are 295/35 R20s. These are not massively wide tires. And these are not stock tires. I think the owner, Nick, has changed them to Pilot Sport 4Ss because he usually drives this car on the road. And the 4Ss are probably better suited for road driving and for better durability as well. So obviously this is a Spider. We haven't opened up the roof yet, and for the Spider, the engine bay is covered up, so you can't see the engine from the back, but there are a lot of vents again to allow air to escape from the engine bay. There is also a large vent at the back to feed air into the engine bay, and the air actually comes out from the rear over here. At the back, we have the triple centralized exhaust. Looks amazing. They are in chrome color, and there is a huge diffuser underneath the car. The side profile of the Italia looks so amazing. It has a very squat down, very flat look. It has a large haunch at the back to give the car a very nice and wide stance. Just overall a very beautiful looking car. So this is the key to the 458 Italia. You can see there is a Ferrari logo in the front. Looks very nice. And the color is matched to the color of the car. So to start up the engine, you basically put the key inside the keyhole here. Turn it. Press the brake pedal and push the engine start button. Whoa, that sounds so good. Okay, let's quickly have a look at the inside of the car. So we have a multifunctional steering wheel in front of me. It's a very nice steering wheel, fully lined in leather, very nice to hold, and the size of it is just right. So it's very interesting with the Ferraris. The indicator lights are on the steering wheel, like here and here. You press it once to activate, press again to deactivate. These are the horns. Start engine button, this is to soften the suspension. Lights, your driving modes, wet, sport, race, CT off, ESC off. So once you press that, a red light comes on, and you can see there is a ESC off indicator on the screen as well. So in front of me there is a physical rev counter. It's very nice looking, and you can see the 9,000 RPM red line. That's really exciting. And on down here there is a drive selector indicator, so it'll show you which gear you are in. Overall, the interior still looks very nice, very modern. I really like these odd shaped, curved design of the interior. Makes the car look very futuristic. On the right hand side, these are controls for your radio and your stereo. This is the light selection dial. This is to adjust your rear mirrors. Your handbrake, your pedals, they are all in aluminium. Over here in the center, these are the climate controls. There is no large screen in the center, which is really nice. Every information you need is all in front of the driver. Down here, there is the drive selectors. Basically, auto means you can select the car to drive it automatically with the automatic 7-speed DCT gearbox. You press it once to deactivate it, press again to activate it. So once you deactivate it, you'll have to use the pedals to change gear yourself. Press again for auto. Reverse button, launch. There is a launch control. We're probably not gonna try this today. Your window buttons up and down, your hazard light button. This is to open the roof. Ah, interesting. You can actually open and close the rear window. So to open the door, you pull this lever and you open the door. There is a small pocket here for your smaller items and a larger pocket here. The buttons to open your frunk and your oil cap is hidden here. There is a lever here to open your engine bay cover. These seats are very amazing. They are very comfortable and also very bolstery. And there are a lot of adjustments to the seats. You can see there's even heated seat function. You can adjust your front and back, lumbar, everything. There's a lot of adjustments, and there are memory seats. You can have 3 memories to these seats as well. Okay, we're driving the 458 Italia. We're going to drive on the back roads today. So to get the car going, basically you press the gear selector level once. It'll go into drive, and we can start going. So right now I'm in sport mode. This is the default mode for the Italia. It feels very nice and compliant. The brake feel quite nice. It's not too grabby. It's really nice and comfortable. I'm really surprised how comfortable and compliant this car is. If you are in sport mode, when the valve is not open, this is a very quiet cabin. You don't feel much road noise, engine noise. Just cruising on the road at around 60, it feels so comfortable, just like a normal car. And the interior quality is so good. Everything is lined in leather. There's not much rattles or weird noises inside. Just overall a very nice cabin to be inside driving. The design is also really ergonomical. Everything's centered towards the driver, so you feel like everything is within reach. And the visibility is so good. You can see from probably where my camera is positioned, the side window, the rear window, they're all really big. So inside the car, you don't feel very cocooned, you don't feel claustrophobic. It feels really airy and very bright. And the way you see out is so clear. I think this is really comparable to a 911, where the 911 is always very well known for its visibility and drivability and usability. I feel this car is very, very similar. So in auto mode, driving it normally on standard roads is totally fine. I'm right now in sport mode, and it's always trying to keep it within 2000 RPM or 3000 RPM just to conserve fuel economy. But if you want to drive this spiritedly, you have to use the pedals. So I will now put the car into race mode, and I will use the pedals to drive. I am now only at 3000 RPM. It's already quite prominent in terms of its exhaust and engine noise, and I can feel the torque. I think this car has better low-end torque than my 911 GT3. I think the GT3, you have to really rev it up past around 4,000 or 5,000 to really feel that torque, that push of power. But with this car, in fourth gear, right now I'm at 3,000 RPM. The engine response is so good, and you can feel the torque immediately, instantly. And the sensation of push from the amount of low-end torque that you get from this engine is pretty incredible. It's so instantaneous because this is a naturally aspirated engine. So it feels really good in terms of its throttle response, and just overall the response from the engine and the sound of it. It's really, really cool. And the gear change is very, very fast because it's a dual clutch 7-speed gearbox. So the speed which it changes gear using these large pedals is really, really instantaneous. Downshift, upshift. I think the upshift is a little bit slower than the PDK, but the downshift is instantaneous. Wow, the sound, listen to that sound. That flat plane crank V8 revving up to 9,000 RPM. It's amazing. Right now I'm on fourth gear, 4,000 RPM, downshift to third, pin it. Whoa, amazing. Whoa, sounds so good from that V8 engine. And the throttle response is so good. It's very, very similar to my GT3, which is also naturally aspirated. I feel inside the car, my GT3 actually sounds louder. But this V8 sound, although it's not as loud as the flat 6 in my GT3, but it sounds so rich and so high-pitched. This is a very, very special engine. I think it's really hard to find such an engine nowadays in any of the new cars. Sports car brands just don't make this kind of engine anymore. These carbon ceramics are really, really good as well. Very confidence inspiring. They give you a lot of bite and quite a lot of feel through the pedals as well. You know exactly what the brakes are doing. The harder you push, the more bite or stopping power you get. It's very, very linear. So let's try the CT off mode. So with the CT off mode, I can feel the suspension firms up a bit more. And you can immediately feel that the front end is a bit sharper now. Wow, it's much sharper than either sports mode or race mode. Second gear, going through some of these very tight corners. Wow, feels really nice. And because of its really good lower range and mid-range torque, even around these lower speed or tighter corners, you can feel there's so much push or grunt out of these corners. You can actually give it quite a bit of throttle quite early and still handles these powers really, really well. It's a very, very stable car to drive on these twisty roads. I feel the rear end is actually more stable than either my Exige or my 911 GT3. And the front end is very, very sharp. It has a very accurate and very quick steering. Wow, it's such a fun car to drive on these back roads. When you are in city off mode, even though the suspension is firmer, but it's not jarring, it's still quite compliant. Oh, I'm totally blown away by the suspension setup. So it's a very, very nice chassis. Paired together with this amazing engine and gearbox, this is just the perfect sports car. In the city off mode, you basically feel the car become a much tighter car overall, and it becomes sharper, everything's more dialed up, it's louder, and the suspension is firmer. So I think if you want to drive this as it's intended to be driven, I think CT mode is the best mode. And also when you are driving on back roads, because this engine revs up to 9,000 RPM, you feel like there's endless revs to use. In second and third gear, you can keep going and going and going without having to change into fourth. So on back roads, especially some tight back roads, it just feels really exciting, very, very special to drive. Because when you rev this engine up, if you keep it around the 7,000 RPM range, the sound is so addictive and there's so much response and power from the engine. It's just second to none. Let's open the rear window and listen to the engine sing. So overall, what do I think of the 458 Italia Spider? Well, I think this is such a perfect sports car. It's got everything you need for a sports car to enjoy. It's got this amazing naturally aspirated flat plane crank V8 engine that revs up to 9,000 RPM, which is already very, very special in today's standards. And when you pair it up with the looks, obviously, and also the amazing chassis and amazing steering, this whole package, even though it's not a manual, but this DCT gearbox is very, very good, it's very fast, so you still feel really engaging when you are using these large pedals to drive yourself. So everything added up together to make this a very, very perfect sports car experience. If you have the money and you can only get one sports car, I think if you can find a really nice and low mileage and well-kept 458 Italia, this is it. This is so good. And if you want to drive this as a cruiser for longer journeys on normal roads, on back roads, it can still do it because the suspension change is so much from sport to race to CT. You can get a very, very compliant, very comfortable suspension setup in sport, which is the standard mode for the Italia. It feels like a normal car. And it's quite practical, it's got great visibility, nice interior. Oh, again, this is a car that does it all, I think. Because this is the last naturally aspirated engine that Ferrari produced. From the 458 onwards, everything's either turbocharged or hybridized. So this is a very, very special car to own and also to hold on to for the future. This will keep on increasing value, I believe, because nowadays you just can't get anything like this anymore. So conclusion-wise, I think this is an amazing, if not the perfect sports car to own. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this review of the 458 Italia. I again love this car, and thank you to Nick who lent me his pride and joy to review and drive. We'll be doing more reviews like this, especially some of the older sports cars. So please subscribe if you haven't, and keep supporting us so we can keep on making these videos for you. Thank you again for watching. Hope to see you in our next video.